This is The Business, and I'm Claude Brodesser-Achner. Federico Fellini's 1960 film La Dolce Vita introduced us to the term paparazzi. Legend has it that the name of the photographer character, paparazzo, was actually a distortion of an Italian word for a kind of mosquito. Of course, Hollywood has taken what was a rather quaint concept and run with it. Now, when we say paparazzi, we're not talking about photographers who take shots of celebrities at red carpet events or fashion shows. Those are usually the invited press. The real paparazzi hunt down celebs wherever and whenever they can. Not surprisingly, they're almost all men. Soo Yoon has the story.
There's a small crowd of photographers outside the Hollywood home of MTV reality star Lauren Conrad.
She just walked in. From what car?
That's Jennifer Buhl, an accountant turned CNN producer, and, for the last 2 years, a paparazzo. Tall and girl-next-door attractive in her purpley pink dress, she stands out amongst the baggy jeans and dark hoodies of the male paparazzi. If not for her camera, she would be just any other 30-something. So, how did a nice girl like Jennifer get into a dirty business like chasing celebrities around L.A.?
One day I was just having a coffee after work, and all of a sudden about 8 SUVs blacked out, like pulled up, screeched, and everybody got out of the car with cameras, and I was like, what is going on? And I'd been in LA over a year and I'd never even seen a paparazzi or a celebrity. And I walked over, and it was Paris and Nikki Hilton shopping.
Nikki, let's hear your signature smile. Your signature smile.
And I started talking to one of the paparazzi, and after about 5 minutes, I was like, you know what? I've been a photographer my whole life as a hobby, and I drive really fast, so what else do I need to know?
What she didn't know was, like most paparazzi, Jennifer's car would become her second home. Being a paparazzo, or a pap as they're called, is like being a low-rent gumshoe staking out an unfaithful husband. And it's just about as glamorous. You sit in a car full of fast food wrappers and empty coffee cups, and wait. And if you're scared you're going to miss your shot, you'll resort to doing a lot more than that in your car. I'll let a pap named Eric explain.
Guys pee in a cup usually. They just, lean over and they just pee in a cup. But I don't know how girls do it, so I asked the chick, I'm like, how do you pee in the car? And she's like, she never talked to me again.
Jennifer, how do you go to the bathroom when you're like sitting on a house like you are for a long time today? What do you do as a woman?
I rarely pee in my car. I mean, there have been times, and I have managed, but it's very uncomfortable for a woman.
I can't even begin to imagine how one would do that.
I don't use a bottle. I would use a full cup, but it's still not easy.
Another thing that's not easy is actually finding the stars to photograph them. Doorstepping, or sitting on a house, means a stakeout. And one of the main places to stake out celebrities is outside their homes, if you can find them.
I bought a star map when I first started. I'm like, oh, wow, great. I've got a star map. I've got all these new addresses. And so when I showed it to one of the paps, he was like laughing at me because, no, I think they might have had one address right. They're a bunch of baloney.
These days, anyone with a cell phone camera fancies themselves paparazzi. You can usually find those amateurs outside trendy nightclubs, hoping for an easy payday. But the pros generally find the actual lair of their prey by following them home. And there's yet another way to figure out where they're going to be, from the stars themselves. Paparazzi are often called parasites, but the truth is, it's a symbiotic relationship.
That's how they become known. That's how they get publicity. I mean, probably almost any major celebrity who's famous right now has at one point in time done setup jobs. And they might not have orchestrated those with a particular paparazzi, but their agent would have called the magazines, who would have then called the photographers, and we would have met them at a store or a restaurant.
Setup or not, when celebrities make themselves accessible, the paparazzi say they're giving it up. In fact, there's a lot of sex in pap lingo. Hosing means to take a picture out in the open. A gangbang is a mass of paps fighting for a shot. You don't have to hear much more to figure out pretty quickly that this is a man's world. Frank Griffin is a veteran photographer and co-owner of the Barra Griffin Photo Agency. Do you think if women paparazzi are hazed or treated differently by their male colleagues?
I think it's going to happen, but I think that happens to the weak and infirm anyway, or the ones who are seen as weak and infirm. And I think that I think it's the kind of job where there's a lot of testosterone going on. I mean, you come to our office at Friday afternoon when the week's finished and everyone is popping up the feathers, and it's like a testosterone bath, you know.
But is the weaker sex actually at a disadvantage?
It is fairly rough and tumble in as much as you have a lot of weight to carry, you're shoulder to shoulder or elbow to elbow with other photographers, which is where the biggest threat comes in terms of physical threat. You have to be able to carry 20 or 30 pounds of equipment around your neck, wield that equipment, shoot well, and still be, in the middle of a crush sometimes.
Guys, gotta walk, guys. No, come on. I'm not gonna push any further. I'm not gonna do any further. Out of the way. Get out of the way.
It was disgusting. One day on Brittany, I got some horrible treatment, yelled at, just called names, slurred, just for no reason at all.
What kind of names?
Just, like, you bitch, don't cross the street in front of me or something like that. And then when the shooting was going down, I looked at this guy. I was like, what was that about? What do you do? And then he and all his friends called my agency. And I started getting calls from my boss and my photo editor and all this. Like, you need to leave Brittany. Everybody says you're making Brittany difficult. And they're not going to let our company get shots on Brittany if you don't leave. And maybe they just needed to see me cry, which I'm fine with.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
I was bawling that day. I was like, is this what you want? You want me to cry? Fine.
But there are upsides to being a woman, especially if you're all dolled up.
A French girl that moved away would tell me, you need to dress nicely because there's a lot of times you need to go in places. And as a female, you have the ability to go in places as just a regular person or a patron. But when you're sitting in your car for 8 hours a day, too, you want to be comfortable and, wear flip-flops and not fancy clothes because it's uncomfortable to sit in your car all day in that kind of outfit.
There must be, I'm sure, situations where a female photographer will gain advantage by virtue of the fact that she's female. She may be able to charm, schmooze, or persuade a male security guard, for example, to gain access.
But overall, it's not easy for female paparazzi. Which begs the question, given the treatment and the other drawbacks, why would a woman want this job? The big money, right? Well, despite what you might have heard, the reality is that no one retires off one shot. Jennifer Buhl and her then partner got great photos of teen star Vanessa Hudgens a few months ago. But after the agency took its 40% cut, they each only made about $1,500. At the end of the day, to be a pap, male or female, you've got to really love the hunt, the chase, the adrenaline. I caught up with some male photographers outside a Hollywood hotel where Brad Pitt's parents were supposedly staying. Here's Jeff.
I mean, this isn't a job that, most people would even want to be doing. A lot of waiting and doing nothing. Mm-hmm. And then if you're on a story and you're waiting for them to come out, there's a lot of jockeying for position. Oh,
I'm going with Jeff.
Move it over.
okay.
The Bowie guy?
Yeah, they must have come out the front.
Yeah. Well, good luck.
On the chase for that perfect picture of Brangelina, this is Sue Yoon for The Business.
And that's The Business. Matt Holzman produced and edited today's program with production assistance from Ray Guarna. Our associate producer is Darby Maloney. You can listen to this or any past program online anytime at kcrw.com/thebusiness. You can listen to our podcast, share it with a friend, or embed it on your blog with the click of a button from our new media player at kcrw.com. And you can always subscribe to the podcast through iTunes. Our email address is thebusiness